Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When the Prophet Muhammad was still a child, he once took part in a trade trip to Sham, Syria, with his uncle Abu Talib. This trip was very important because it was here that one of the signs of his prophethood was seen by a priest named Bukhaira. The priest Bukhaira, also known as Bahira, was a Christian monk who lived in a monastery in the Busra region, near Sham. He was a scholar who mastered the previous holy books, including the Torah and the Gospel. He knew from these books the signs of the coming of a final prophet who would emerge from the Arab nation. When the Quraysh trade caravan arrived near the monastery where Bukhaira lived, he noticed something unusual. From a distance, he saw a cloud sheltering one of the caravan members, even though the weather was very hot. In addition, he also saw tree branches leaning over to protect someone when the caravan rested under them. Convinced that there was something special, Bukhaira invited all the members of the Quraysh caravan to eat together at his monastery. This was unusual, as Bukhaira usually never showed any attention to passing caravans. When the caravan members arrived, he saw a young man whose face was shining, namely Muhammad. When he saw him, Bukhaira immediately felt extraordinary privilege. He approached the Prophet Muhammad with great respect and wanted to ensure that he was the prophet mentioned in his books. Bukhaira asked the Prophet Muhammad several questions, all of which were in accordance with the signs of the last prophet that he knew of. He also saw a sign of prophethood in the form of a Khatamun Nubuwah, a sign of prophethood, on his back, which was shaped like a seal. Once convinced, Bukhaira spoke to Abu Talib and warned him to take good care of Muhammad. He said, "Take this child back to your country and protect him. By Allah, if the Jews or other people find out who he is, they will harm him. This child is the last prophet promised in our books." This story shows how the signs of the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad were recognized even before he was appointed as a prophet. This is also evidence that the message of Islam was already recorded in previous holy books. Reverend Bukhaira, with his profound knowledge, provided one of the early proofs of the prophethood of the Messenger of Allah, which then became clearer as his life progressed. Hearing advice from Bukhaira, Abu Talib felt worried about Muhammad's safety. He realized that his nephew was a special child. After that meeting, Abu Talib decided not to continue his trading journey to a more distant region in Syria and immediately returned to Mecca. He wanted to protect Muhammad from the threat of parties who might want to harm him. The members of the Quraysh caravan who heard Bukhaira's words were surprised and began to pay attention to Muhammad with greater respect. However, they did not fully understand what Bukhaira really meant. For them, Muhammad was still an orphan who was known to be honest, kind, and full of special qualities. The confession from the people of the book of the story of Bukhaira is one proof that the previous people of the book, such as Christians and Jews, already knew about the coming of the last prophet. In the Quran, Allah mentions that the Prophet Muhammad has mentioned in their books, "Those to whom we have given the book know him, Muhammad, as they know their own children." Quran Surah Al-Baqarah 146. Clearly visible signs of prophethood. Bukhaira recognizes signs of prophethood both through physical characteristics, such as the prophetic seal on his back, and through his characteristics and behavior, which correspond to descriptions in previous holy books. Allah's protection of the Prophet Muhammad. Allah protected the Prophet Muhammad from childhood to adulthood. This story shows that everything has been arranged by Allah to ensure the safety and continuity of the message of Islam. Even though this story occurred long before the Prophet Muhammad received revelation, this event is one of the earliest proofs of his prophethood. When he was appointed as an apostle at the age of 40, stories like this serve as a reminder that the signs of prophethood had appeared since his childhood. After that meeting, Bukhaira was no longer recorded in Islamic history. However, his role in giving recognition to the Prophet Muhammad became an important part of the Prophet's life journey. This story continues to be told by historians and scholars to show that the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad was not something that happened suddenly, but had been planned by Allah for a long time. This story teaches us to always believe that the truth will be clearly visible to those who seek it with a sincere heart. Just like Bukhaira, who with his knowledge was able to recognize the truth in the figure of the Prophet Muhammad.